business coaching, my service is virtual, so we can visit no matter where you are. Find out more by clicking my icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. That's DeWittDailyNews.com.
You're finding Central Illinois. WHOW.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in the studio today is Mr. Joe Witte. He is the DeWitt County Board Chair as we follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board Meeting. Good morning, Mr. Witte.
Good morning, Seth.
Pull that microphone a little closer to you if you don't mind. There we go. And Mr. Witte, how did your first meeting go?
Went well. Went about 35 minutes or so. Didn't have a huge agenda, but we got through it, and
Tell you what, you make these 35, 45-minute meetings, and I'll be a little more excited to go to your meetings. If
guarantee.
Okay, all right, fair enough. But we appreciate you making time, first time through, and coming on the morning show. And I'll tell you what, Mr. Witte, for folks that may not be familiar with you, your background in Clinton and DeWitt County, just introduce yourself to our listeners. How about that?
Yeah, I'm a resident since 2009. My wife and I moved from the Normal area in 2009, and we've been here. We've been raising our 6 kids, starting to get them out of the house and through college, and so that's kind of where we are at this point in our life. Is winding down and starting to we've got our first grandchild, so
nice.
Changing from raising our own kids to starting to look forward to raising our kids' kids.
Sure. Now, tell me a little bit about your background, kind of getting into public service in DeWitt County. How did you come to get involved in some of these things you're in?
Yeah, I really didn't have any intention in getting involved in public service, when I first came to DeWitt County. I got involved a little bit more, started attending meetings, and in the late, 2018 time frame, somewhere in that. I watched county boards. I know they had some contentious issues at the time, and I just thought, getting involved and offering what I can to, work through some of those issues and doing it in a respectful manner. I thought we needed to, find ways to work through these issues that are brought before us. I've got a lot of interest in improving the county, looking at economic development, things like that. But, just wanted to get involved somehow. Started out with the Regional Planning Commission, and that opened up, the path to eventually getting on the county board.
Was there an issue in particular that drew you to wanting to serve or anything like that?
Not really. It's just watching how the local government interacted and worked through some of these issues. And, obviously there was a lot going on in the time frame with the wind farm permitting and, other issues in the past that had, I'd listened more from afar, but, it's nothing in particular. It's just, I know there was some turnover around that time frame, and it was a good time to, consider getting involved myself.
Gotcha. Very good. Well, we appreciate you making time for us here this morning to follow up the county board meeting last night. And I'll tell you what, from your perspective, I know there was kind of limited discussion. There were some hires and things like that. What stood out most to you from last night, Mr. Witte?
Yeah, we did have a couple of positions that we'd been looking to fill, and we did have a recommendation from land use to fill our part-time zoning administrator role. We did bring forward from land use a motion to extend an offer to Elizabeth Weichel from, she's out of Wapella. She had a little bit of zoning experience back in the early 2000s, but not recently. But Dee Dee has been filling that role for us now for, as long as I've been on the board, and I think about a year prior, so about 3 years in an interim manner. And it's just an awful lot for somebody, to take on that role like she did in kind of an emergency where we just didn't have anybody to fill it. She had the experience. She could step right in and take that on. But to do that for 3 years in addition to her other duties, it's an awful lot. And so we needed to get somebody in, ideally working alongside her for some time and picking up some knowledge, but taking those duties off of her plate, to be fair to her, that's just an awful lot to expect somebody to do their full-time duties plus what was really a 20-hour or so a week job on top of that. So getting that position filled, obviously there's going to have to be some testing done, pass some pre-employment conditional testing and things like that. But our hope is to get her started in January and then take that off of Dee Dee's plate.
Very good. Well, and I'll tell you what, with that role, it mentioned it is a part-time role, and I think the zoning administrator, and the importance of it really came to light, obviously, during the wind farm discussion and all of those things. So I guess when there isn't an application for, say, a wind farm or a solar farm or, one of these energy developments that we're talking about here at the county board level from time to time, what else is the zoning administrator doing?
Well, so I think the zoning administrator's got enough to keep them busy part-time without those applications. It's when those applications come in that it becomes too much. And so I think what we've done the last couple of years is we've been reworking some of our ordinances, the solar ordinance and the wind ordinance, so that when we do get those applications in, and there's a rush of activity that has to happen, we can hire out some of that help with those reviews. And so, our expectation will be, we may be receiving some new applications coming in the near future for some solar development. That doesn't all fall 100% on the zoning administrator to work through the application and handle permits. We'll be hiring out a consultant, and we've approved Cummings Engineering to help with that. Okay. But it doesn't all fall into the zoning administrator, and it's more work on top of what they've already got, a pretty full plate.
Gotcha. Very good. So a part-time zoning administrator hired for DeWitt County, and we'll dive into, of course, Tony Harris announced a few months ago that he would be stepping aside from his duties as the administrator of the animal control facility. Yeah, and you've got somebody there as well.
We did. Again, we've been advertising that position. That'll be a full-time animal control administrator position. Tony was involved in the vetting of those applications. I'm not sure how many applications that he received and how many interviews he did, but he did narrow it down to one very qualified candidate, brought that to public safety, and they interviewed her, I think it was last week. And they brought forward that recommendation as well. So Grace Moore was brought forward for that position. Again, a full-time position, taking over animal control administrative duties off of Tony's plate. And the board unanimously approved that one as well.
Sure. With some of these posts here, Mr. Witte, is then the challenge of retaining those individuals, or if they do move on quickly and moving into someone else into that role. How about just retention, recruitment of these roles? How about that?
It's a challenge, I think, everywhere. We struggled to get that role, I think, sized. The animal control staffed at a level that didn't cause burnout, and so Tony Harris stepping in for the last year or so, I think he's really helped stabilize everything at the animal control facility. We've got the hires done that we think is now makes that a sustainable position. The employees aren't going to get burned out. There may still need to be some tweaks depending on how many animals we have at one time, and there's continued discussions going on there. But I think the work that Tony has done the last year has hopefully made that a more tolerable position. It's not going to cause burnout rates, and hopefully we've got a candidate that I think is certainly qualified. She's got a lot of experience in animal control, working for McLean County, so. I think she knows what she's getting into, and we're hopeful that we've got the right person there, and they'll be able to pick up and continue along the good work that Tony's done.
Sure, very good. Well, again, our guest in studio today is Mr. Joe Witte as we follow up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. And Mr. Witte, again, anything else? Kind of, let's see. We did appointments. We did the hirings. Let's jump down into the budget. I know, was the budget approved last night?
No, we approved that the prior meeting.
Okay.
We started the new fiscal year in December.
Okay.
So, So we've had some bills, obviously, that were from the fiscal year 24, and then starting to to see those bills for the fiscal year 25.
Okay.
Budget all done last month.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So from your perspective, how's the did you get involved in the budget process? What's it look like right now?
A lot of that work is done, with Dee Dee working with the department heads and then the finance committee kind of working through a lot of those details. I don't get involved directly, but can certainly attend those finance meetings and hear those discussions. But there's a good group that had done it for several years, and we've got some other folks on finance that are learning the ropes. So I think we're in good shape. We had, with the sale of the marina, some excess money that we had to figure out where to go, and again we dealt with that in the last couple months. So I think the budget's in good shape, and DeWitt County's in a good position.
Sure. I know a lot of that discussion was about, economic development and those sorts of things. What ended up being kind of the final decision on where to send those marina dollars and how to utilize those?
We split a lot of that up. Some of it went to the general fund, which is going to, reduce tax, it's going to be that much less that we would have to use out of the tax levy. We put some of that into economic development. I think it was $700,000. Now we'll have to find projects for that. We can't just have $700,000 parked in a fund with not being designated towards anything. So my expectation would be that over the next several months we'll start looking to where can we use what type of project specifically could we use the economic development money on.
Sure.
And if we don't have things, eventually that may have to move back to a general fund.
Okay.
But we did that, and then we also had some that I think we put in contingencies. We used a lot of money out of contingencies and in our depreciation fund. There's replenishing some of what we've used in the past, just so that they're at levels that if we have an unexpected expense, that we've got the money that we can tap into to cover those.
Gotcha. Very good. Very good. Well, Mr. Witte, I look at the clock. Let's take a break here, my friend. Come back with some more. Mr. Joe Witte is the DeWitt County Board Chair. Joins us following up the Thursday night, DeWitt County Board Meeting. More to come with Mr. Witte on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network. Corn slightly higher, beans higher, and wheat starting today slightly lower. March corn opening 444, up 3 1/4. May corn up 3 1/4, 449 1/2. July corn 452 1/4, up 3. January beans starting the day 969 3/4, up 6 3/4. March beans up 6 1/2, 973. May beans 982, up 7. March Chicago wheat 531 1/4, down 1 3/4. May wheat down 1 3/4, 541 3/4. July wheat 549 1/2, down 1 1/2. January bean meal 288.10, that's up $4. And January bean oil 39.67, down 34 cents. Opening numbers on this Friday morning. Jim Taylor on the RFD Radio Network.
Happy holidays and a happy new year from all of us at Baum Chevrolet Buick. Hi, this is Scott Baum. I just want to take a minute to thank you all for a wonderful year. All of us here at Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton and Baum Motor Company in Farmer City appreciate the trust that you and the community place in us to not only help you find the right new car or truck, but also service them as well. We look forward to continuing our promise throughout the holiday season and into 2025. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
At Love It Once More Thrift Store in Clinton, we're helping to make things easier this holiday season. We have all our Christmas decor 50% off. And also check out our display of gift quality items. This is Connie reminding you to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and DeWittDailyNews.com.
Happy holidays from me, Russ Utterback.
And from me, Ryan Utterback.
And from the other Ryan Dalton.
We at Utterback Real Estate thank you for your business.
To buy or sell real estate in DeWitt County, click their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Again, my guest in studio today is Mr. Joe Witte. He is the board chair for the DeWitt County Board, following up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. And Mr. Witte, I know you've got an ad hoc committee put together to basically establish a full-time committee. Is that right?
Well, it's an ad hoc committee that will have, for the period of 1 year. We added a termination date to the motion to get that established. It'll run through 2025, and it's to handle compliance and IT. Kind of do more of an exhaustive review of our ordinances. Are we compliant with state statute? Are there things that we need to update? And then from the technology standpoint, are there areas where we can maybe improve efficiencies, look at our technology stack, and it won't be a committee that has the authority to make any decisions. We will be an advisory committee to the full board. So we'll anything that we find, any recommendations, will go to the full board for approval.
Now, who's on that committee?
We established Pat Ryan as chair, Megan Myers as vice chair. I'll be on that committee. And then we added Dee Rentmeister, our county administrator, as well, because she's got a lot of knowledge from a historical standpoint, why things have maybe changed, why our ordinances and how we do things might be slightly out of sync. And so we'll rely heavily on her just for that knowledge. And then, we'll take anything that we find to the full county board just for any adjustments that need to be made. Is
it going to be weird to be on that committee but not be the chair of it, even though you're the board chair?
No. So as board chair, I don't think I'm chair of any of our committees, and I think it's because my philosophy is we've got a good group of board members, and a lot of them are passionate about different areas. Let them run the committees. Let them where their passions are. Bring things to the full board. I don't need to be involved in all the details when you got a good board. So I don't feel the need that I need to be a chair of everything that I'm on. In fact, I don't think I am. But we've got good people that, are knowledgeable and are going to do a good job. And, I'm one of 12, and the other 11 have got a lot of talented knowledge that they'll bring, so we've got to use that.
Sure. With the ad hoc committee that you're talking about there, Mr. Witte, one thing that I remember Mr. Matthews had mentioned towards the end of his time on the board was the fact that would kind of that IT compliance committee would somewhat take the place of the Marina Committee. Is there a plan to have a committee that takes the place of that, or is that just going to be something that, because we don't have the Marina anymore, it falls by the wayside and just kind of goes away?
Yeah, good question. So the Marina Committee, obviously we needed that for that purpose, right? We had to operate the Marina, and we don't have that need anymore, so that made sense to disband that, and there's no intention to replace it with something just because we no longer have 5 committees. The intention of this one is more of a temporary committee with a specific goal, right? It's to look at the compliance, to maybe come up with some onboarding manuals and things like that for our elected officials, for appointed officials. And just once that goal is met, there's no need for the committee to continue. Now, from a technology standpoint, maybe there are some things that would need to continue beyond a year. If there is a need for something like that, or we have a recommendation, we would take that to the full board, and we'd have to establish a new committee. But no, the intention of this is really just temporary. We've got some goals that we've set out. If we can get through those in a year, great. If not, we can extend the committee for another year or so. And at the end of the day, if there's something that we feel as a full board that needs consistent coverage for beyond a term of a year or two, then we can always establish that. But that's not the intention, from the onset.
Sure, very good. Well, Mr. Witte, let's move along and talk about a constellation project and the board throwing some support behind this. What's going on?
Yeah, so the government engagement rep for Constellation did reach out. And I thought this was kind of exciting. They you may recall about a year ago, Illinois lifted its moratorium on development of nuclear reactors, and that was a 30-year moratorium that had been in place, and so that was lifted last year. And Constellation is looking at funding. I didn't get too much into the details with Mr. Tozer from Constellation, but they are planning on submitting a grant to the U.S. Department of Energy. There's, I want to say, there's $100 million of funding available, and Constellation has, I think 9 sites, 3 which would be eligible for some funding. And according to Mr. Tozer, they've selected Clinton as where they would move forward if they could receive funding, because they've got a lot of available land where they could do something. So, he reached out last week looking for a letter of support from the board, and I think if there's other entities out there in the Clinton DeWitt area, I think reach out to Mr. Tozer, because I think it'd be great for the area for economic development if they can get some of that funding and move forward with this.
Any idea what their plans are?
I haven't been able to meet with him yet to go over the details of the plan,
Gotcha.
but I think the grants, I think their intention is to get that submitted in January, and then I'm not sure how long it would take to hear back on the details of the grant. But my understanding is that the moratorium that was in Illinois, it was lifted. I don't think anything can start before 2026, so it'll take some time. Obviously,
so they got time.
They've got time. How quickly the funding would materialize, I'm not sure on that yet either. But the bottom line is, the board is excited about what Constellation brings to the community from an economic development standpoint. They're a great partner, and we want to throw our support behind any efforts that they can get to receive some funding, move forward with. It's the small nuclear or small modular reactors. They're limited in size. It'll be maximum of 300 megawatts, but it's clean energy. It's reliable. It's, yeah, exactly. And it'd be a great opportunity for DeWitt County as well.
Sounds great. Very good. Well, Mr. Witte, let's wrap up. I got about a minute and a half or so here with you. As we look ahead, anything coming up for the county board, whether it's January or beyond, that you'll be taking up here in the weeks and months ahead? What's coming up?
We're always battling, like a lot of employers, vacancies, and so I know there's positions that we'll be looking to fill, and even some appointments. I've got some vacancies. One on RPC. We've got an ethics committee that hasn't been staffed or hasn't had appointed officials in some time. So, always looking for people willing to serve, and I think we also are going to be looking to fill some more roles in the near future. So,
always looking for those people to come into public service.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very good. So, kind of those smaller roles is a good place to start, and just dip your toe in and get your feet
see what
wet.
it's all about. And we could use good people that want to serve.
I know that's how you, like we mentioned at the top, kind of how you got started in all of this. So,
the Regional Planning Commission, right?
And here we are doing board chair interviews. Well, Mr. Witte, I'm looking forward to having you on every month. Thank you for making time for us, and we'll see you in January.
All right, thanks, Seth.
That is Mr. Joe Witte. He is the board chair for the DeWitt County Board, our guest in studio here on following up the Thursday night DeWitt County Board meeting. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. Brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news comes your way now on the morning show.